Hello everyone, it's now 10:15 and we'll start the next session. With me on stage I have Nicholas from NVISO, who's going to talk about something that is, or at least should be, important to every one of us, documentation. As with previous sessions, there are microphones placed out in different spots here if you have questions towards the end of the presentation. And with that, I'll leave the stage to Nicholas.
Thank you. Thank you. So my talk today is about documentation, more specifically about creating and maintaining your knowledge base within your team or organization. So I'm Nicholas Dhaeyer. I work as a SOC analyst at NVISO. I created the knowledge base within our team and I help maintain it. NVISO is a cybersecurity company in Europe. We do quite a lot in security itself. We have pen testers, red teamers. We help you with your policies. We have an incident response team. We help you with your cloud stuff. And, of course, a SOC team. So today we're going to talk about a bit how the situation was at NVISO when I joined and how the situation was regarding the documentation. At some point, I changed my tactics when creating the documentation. We have some lessons learned from that. And lastly, I will give a brief overview of what I want to do in the future as well. So it started all off with a lot of Confluence pages everywhere, with some documentation in it, and nobody actually knew what was in those pages and where they actually were. So first of all, I had to create a bit of a structure. I started off gathering all the pages, looking through them. There was a lot of text in there, and nobody actually used them. So what I did was I gathered them all, put them in a nice structure, and then I went through them, deleted a few things, added few things, and at some point I was sitting there. We have no goal. What do we actually want to document? At NVISO, we wanted to document our training processes and our work life cycle so that we can give the documentation to new analysts so they can start working for us very fast. And they work using the expectancies that are the quality that our customers expect from us. So the first step is define your goals. When you create your documentation, what we did as well was you need to have a goal. What do you want your knowledge base to be? Why do people need to go to your knowledge base? For us, that was the training and training of new analysts. Then you have to prioritize what exactly within those goals do you want to do. After that, you choose one topic that you want to focus on, and you give that to one person. That one person is your point of contact, basically some kind of digital librarian that knows everything within that small topic. Okay. Oops. So, defining your goal, what do you need to document? That is the most important question. What is it that you need to document? Are it policies? Is it training? Is it code that you need to document? That's very important to know beforehand, before you start. And then you need to know, why do you want to do that? In our case, it was for training. It was training exercises, it was training links to other blogs, to videos, and how you want to do that, that is very important to know beforehand, so that you need to use the right tools. Is it video that you need? Then you probably need a platform like YouTube or any other internal platform that you need. Are you going to use Confluence or another knowledge base, maybe a wiki? Priorities. You have to get them straight. Our two priorities was the training and the life cycle that we had. And when you have those priorities listed up, you choose one of them. After that, you choose a person who is responsible for that. I was responsible for both. This person knows the content that's in there. He knows, okay, if you want to know more about phishing, let's say, you go to there. He knows the structure. He is the person, the point of contact for everything within that one topic. So if people have questions, they say, oh yeah, I'm looking for, let's say, some queries, or how do we exactly classify certain types of emails? They can go to him, and that person says, okay, yeah, just here is a URL, visit that, and you have all the information that you need. Ideally, that person is the one with the most documentation, that does the most documentation and has the most experience with documentation, but that doesn't have to be. It can literally be someone that you just hired yesterday. It doesn't matter. And that brings me to the next point. Different people have different responsibilities, not only within creating your knowledge base, but also within the company. You cannot say, oh yes, this is the most experienced senior person, let's have him do everything. No. Example given here is documentation. You can give that to someone you just hired. They just need to know a bit about what the structure is. When you are doing this documentation, you've created this, we're about 3 to 4 months in the work that I did with NVISO for creating our knowledge base. We had some problems. So we did a meeting where we, a whole day we spent on documenting things that everyone was saying, yeah, I need to document this, but I never have the time for this. We created a fun event out of it. We got some pizzas, or if you want salad, it doesn't really matter. So that documentation is not always the most fun part, so let's make it a bit more fun. So everyone was documenting things. The point of contact, me in this case, I was validating, okay, what is the stuff that we already have? Can we add some new things? Okay. I cleaned up a lot of the things that were already being deprecated, and at the end of the day, I reviewed everything that we have, and this is one of the most important things. I explained our structure, everything that was new. I showed, hey guys, so this is everything that we have within our topic. Within training, you can find everything here. Everyone knew in our team what was in our knowledge base. They didn't know exactly where it was, or what was the content itself it was, but I knew, okay, we have documentation about phishing, we have documentation about creating a VM, we have documentation about how to analyze malware. At some point, I also changed my tactics. We had some issues as well. One of the things I started using was polarity. Initially, polarity is not meant for creating documentation. It is more used for helping SOC analysts or IR teams with their investigation. It has integration for a lot of API calls that they use, like VirusTotal, URL scan, Shodan, Confluence, Jira, a lot of different APIs that I can use to actually get information back. But it has one key feature that was very important for us. You could set some tags on something. You could highlight something, you get some tags, and that is some information that you share with the team that uses Polarity as well. One of the very important things Polarity does is using OCR. That means that even on images or screenshots, or when you're in a VM, it actually shows you the information that you need. So one of the tags that we created was for cmd.exe. How do attackers use cmd.exe? We set some examples. We explained a little bit about how it's being used by attackers. And we have a whole list of lol bins being documented in Polarity. And it's basically like a senior analyst saying, look, cmd.exe or regsvr32.exe is being used like this. And most of the time when you see these things, they are not really important. But if you see this and you have the documentation right next to you, then you see, oh, yeah, right. This is something that I need to look out for. This is something malicious. And that is how we are creating our dynamic knowledge base. It's, like I said, a senior analyst sitting next to you saying, look, I know this. I've seen this before. One of the things that we did as well was changing from the lots of text to going more for queries-based documentation, because we were using a lot of hunting queries in Azure or MDE, in Elastic, in Palo Alto XDR. XDR doesn't have the best documentation as well, or the best examples, so I needed to provide some, because we need to work very fast in our SOC. We have a lot of alerts, we need to get through them, we need to hunt for a lot of stuff, so we had to have that information present that you could just say, copy this template, put it somewhere, change the device name, maybe the file name, and you have your queries and your results in no time. This was very important, and it doesn't require a lot of text. You just have a few comments in your code or in your query. You have a small line that says that has a little bit of an explanation about the query, and everyone can work with it. At some point, our documentation looked a bit like this, where we had our normal workflow described a bit, and then for every alert that we could get, we set a small example of what the alert was. We explained a bit why we handle the alerts, and we put some queries in there as well, that our new analysts can get up to speed real quick, and in a month or two, they have the capacity and the knowledge and experience that our customers expect from us. So that brings me to the lessons learned. If you have fallen asleep a little bit or didn't pay much attention, I invite you to take a picture of this slide. This is the most important slide in my whole presentation. One of the important things in creating your knowledge base is you don't have to plan everything from the start. Planning, don't get me wrong, planning is a very important part of your creating your knowledge base. But at some point you will get like a year, half a year after the initial start of creating your knowledge base, you will need some extra things, because life in the company, the work, it changes a little bit. You have also always have to ask yourself, what am I documenting? Is it usable? Is this something that people will go back to? One of the problems that we had was a lot of text. I mean, a lot of text where we try to explain everything about phishing, everything about malware. It took us a very long time to create create one of those pages, and they were not usable. Nobody looked at that because, well, that was one already created in one of the training pages, and two, well, our analysts knew what phishing was. Our analysts knew what alerts they were going to handle, so they didn't need that explanation anymore. We taught them that in live sessions when we were sitting together and showing off our platform and our workflow. So that is lost time. That also brings me a bit to the next point, which is document as much or as little as you need. Sometimes you just have to get to the point. Other times, maybe when you're documenting some type of policy or when you create your knowledge base about a certain workflow that you do and have a lot of steps, then you need to document all those steps. But if you don't have that, just one step, put in that one step and maybe it's a one page that has like 5 lines on it. So be it, it's usable. And revisit your documentation every 3 to 4 months. Create some kind of fun event over it so that everyone knows what exactly is within your knowledge base. So everyone knows where some things can be found. You can clean up the deprecated stuff, because in 3 to 4 months, something that might be useful 3 to 4 months ago is not usable anymore. And you can, that way, you clean up your knowledge base, you keep it up to date, and everyone knows where everything is, so it will be used. That is also create a fun event out of it, because these days are usually not always the most pleasant days, maybe a bit more boring, so give some incentive. Change is good. If you didn't change your knowledge base, well, everything within the security industry is changing, so why not your knowledge base as well, right? And focus on the present. You don't have a librarian working for you. Nobody wants to pay for that, so only document the things that you know that you need right now, and not the things that you think, oh, maybe I can use this next year. No, you will not use it next year, because you've forgotten that it was there, and you lost time on that, and nobody wants that. They're going to think, yeah, what is this? We don't need this. We don't use something like this. This is maybe a policy or a way of thinking that we that was something from last year, and we don't use it anymore. So, how would I do it different in the future? One of the things is I would start using Obsidian. Obsidian, in my opinion, is a very good tool, because it is fully written in Markdown, so you can use it basically everywhere. Markdown is basically a markup language that is just text. So you can easily port it to every other thing if you decide on changing tools. You can use it locally, but you can also use it in the cloud. Markdown has a very nifty feature that has backlinks, so you can really click back to other pages very fast and pivot from there. That's also something with the mind maps that's being created here. You can see that the mind maps have link basically every page together, and if there is like a specific attack or a specific tactic being used or documented, then you can pivot from there. Okay, if you combine your SOC documentation with your red teaming documentation, okay, the red teamers, they have documented a specific attack. How is that being used? So you don't so you already have the documentation from other teams in your own documentation, basically, with a quick overview that you can pivot to. It also uses the open format Markdown. It has a lot of plugins. It's like if you ever used Visual Studio Code, this is Visual Studio Code for Markdown files. It's very easy to work with, and if you copy-paste something from any website, it actually keeps its format. Visual Studio Code does not do that. It infuriates me, really. Pasting of images, also very easy. That is one of the things that most Markdown editors don't have. An easy way to paste images, because usually you have to type some code or Markdown code for that. Also, you can use Obsidian with GitHub real easy to have some version control. You can share your files very easy because, well, it's just a GitHub repository. I don't know if you ever heard from GitHub Pages, but GitHub Pages, there is a way to put markdown files as a website, and it updates automatically, which means that whatever documentation you wrote within your Obsidian and put onto your GitHub is already on your website. And if you're like us, using some code, some queries within your documentation, it's all in one location. So that was my talk. Are there any more questions?
Hi. If I understood you correctly at the beginning, you recommended to have one person being in charge of a topic and knowing more or less which information is documented and stored. So did you mean that you would divide your team into topics and then tell everybody you're responsible for this topic and you need to know where the documentation is and you're responsible for this other topic, or did you mean something else?
So yes, one of the examples that I used was we needed to document our workflows and we needed to document our training processes. And you could see each of those as a topic. And depending on how big that topic is, you can say, okay, one person knows everything about the workflows, and one person knows everything about the training program. And those people are in charge. So if you need to add something to the training, you can go to them, okay, look, we have training about, let's say, Cobalt Strike. I want to create a page about Cobalt Strike so that people know what it is. We can train them about Cobalt Strike. Then you can go to that person, ask, okay, where do I put it, and what is a bit of the format that I can use? Same for the workflows. If you decide to create a new workflow, you can ask that person and then say, okay, he knows where everything is, and or you already have a page about Emotet. And you asked your point of contact of one topic, okay, I want to know more about Emotet, where can I find this?
And do you have then some kind of a register where you say these are the topics and these are responsible people, or?
At the moment we do not have that, but if this is something, if you have a lot of topics, that is a very good idea, indeed.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, I'm Vilus. So similar question, so how many topics currently you are thinking about? Is it 5 or is it 50?
That is completely up to your organization and what your needs are. But at the moment in our small SOC team, we have 3 topics.
And small team, it's still you have 15 people or?
At the moment we have 7 people.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Ron. It's kind of related to that, but my question is, which type of problems that you faced to scale up documents and maintain quality? Do you have any observation or strategy on that?
Yes. So this is why you need to revisit your knowledge base every 3 to 4 months to so that everyone knows what is in your knowledge base, so that you can clean up your knowledge base and you can keep it up to date. And as long as you have a responsible person for each topic, they keep their own topic up to date, and that is very scalable, as long as you have the people that you can add to your topics.
Do you have any specific metric or I don't know, data that you look at to see what is being kind of dusty or?
So that probably depends on the program that you're using. Confluence has this metric that shows you how many people have viewed a specific page. You can base yourself on that. Other than that, maybe you can do a survey. If you don't have that information, you can do a survey within the company. Okay, do you use a knowledge base? Do you know how to use it? And a few of those basic questions that you want answered.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Question. You mentioned that the objective so far for you was only one, the education for new analysts, but there are other reasons, so other topics or other goals what could be implemented easily or in the future. So do you have a roadmap, for example, but on board the documenting on the all policies, procedures in order to ensure its compliance with, I don't know, whatever, quality and...
At the moment, in our analyst team, we do not have a roadmap yet. We are still in the phase where we are creating all the documentation for the new analysts. And when that is done, we are going to revisit our goals. What do we want to document next? But if that is a requirement for your company, you can really sit together with maybe all of management or the people that need to make a decision about that and create your roadmap. Okay, what do we want to be documented? What do we prioritize within all of those things that we need to document? What is the most time sensitive to be documented? And then you can start giving out those tasks.
Okay, and another short question. Of your personal, of your time, how much it took for last, I don't know, 3 months, these activities, managing and making it work? Is it 100% or 15%?
I would say about 10 to 15% of my time is spent on documenting, and it really helps to have that one specific day every 3 to 4 months to have my full time spent on documentation, because I don't need to take a specific break because I have other alerts to work on, but I can clean out, I can keep the structure a bit more. So yeah, that helps with the time management.
All right, thank you for engaging subject. And I do have a question myself also. You mentioned quite a lot of tools there, and I do recognize some of them. Is there anyone in particular you would like to recommend?
So the whole idea is that it is not based on a specific tool. Yes, we do use some specific tools because we have a use for them, but don't bind yourself to a specific tool unless you need a specific reason to use it. Like Polarity, our specific reason to use it is because it has that dynamic knowledge base feature that you can just add a comment to something. But if you're using Obsidian or if you're using Confluence, doesn't really matter unless you use Confluence maybe with Jira and you need that integration. Or for Obsidian, if you really want a mind map, then use that tool. So whatever tool works for you, use it.
All right. Then I thank you, Nicholas, for taking your time and sharing your knowledge with us. And I think you all gave us something to think about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Right, the next presentation here will be at 11:20, so it'll be a half an hour break. Thank you.